the university, we now have a new strategic plan, the university strategic plan, and internationalization is one of the key areas. So the center, one of our core mandate is to be able to collaborate with a number of universities abroad and do things of this nature. So we are signing an MOU with Volda University in Norway, and we have one of their faculty members who is also working on a project, and we noticed that that project will be very beneficial to our faculty members. So as part of their tour in Ghana, they planned visiting UPSA. If you all remember, a notice was sent out, and 2 thematic areas we shared that with you. We received CVs of interested faculty members who want to contribute in these areas. So this morning, we are happy to have Dr. Natalia Homlong, right, from Volda University, with her partner or her collaborator, Professor Elizabeth Springler, right? So this morning, they are going to share with us their proposal. Firstly, they will talk about their school, and then they will talk about the book project, the strategy, how they are going to select the faculty members to contribute to this book project. And Professor Natalia and Professor Elizabeth, these are the faculty members who expressed interest in the 2 thematic areas that you shared with us. I know one is in the garment area, the influx of the second-hand clothing in Ghana, and its effects on the garment industry in Ghana. The other one is in the finance sector. So we have those from the management and then the finance sector all present this morning. So the presentation will be done by the 2 of them. They will present to us their school and then the purpose. Please, we will feel free and ask questions, because as part of the CIEC mandate, we expect that at the end of the day, faculty members will be able to at least contribute a chapter to this book that they are writing. We also want to help increase the number of publications by our faculty members. And in doing that, we are so mindful that you wouldn't do this alone, but collaborate with our partner universities. And we believe that diversity is good. You do wonderful projects when this is that. And I think that bringing the Ghanaian researchers on board, they are also well equipped. They have the facts. They will be able to contribute significantly to the project you are working on. So on this note, I want to welcome you, and I want to give you the floor to do your presentation.
It's a great honor for you, for us that you're meeting us here. The University College where I'm working, the town is called Volda. So the town of Volda has just 10,000 inhabitants, very small, and we have approximately 4,000 students, and half of them are on campus and half of them are doing their coursework online. So you can imagine, with such a small town with 2,000 students coming in, it gets very lively during the semester and very quiet in summer, I have to say, during the holidays. The institution, Volda University College, we have about 350 staff. That includes both academic, technical, and administrational staff. And it actually dates already back to the late 1800s to 1895, when it was founded as a teacher training college and later on expanded also into other fields. We have presently about 30 undergraduate programs, and we have 7 master programs, and we also have a PhD program which we have together with another university college that's also located in the region. We have a total of about 300 courses that are being offered. I guess we talked a little before, you have a university with 22,000 students, so everything there is on a much smaller scale than here. Out of those about 300 courses, 40 are taught in English. And even though we're a small institution, we actually have a lot of exchange with students really from the entire world. The school there is especially known for its journalism courses and journalism programs, as well also for teacher training. So just to give you a little overview over the 4 faculties that we have, I am working here at the first one, at the Faculty of Social Sciences and History. So we have a bachelor's program in history, we have one in social work, and then we have a bachelor's program in public administration and planning, and that's where I'm teaching as well in our master's program, also in public planning and administration and leadership. And we also have a master's program in social work. Then we have the Faculty of Media and Journalism, where we have different bachelor's and master programs. Interestingly, a master program which is entirely in English, called Masters in Media Practices. Then we have our smallest faculties, that of Arts and Physical Education. We have theater and drama programs, arts and crafts, music and physical education, and outdoor studies. And then finally, our biggest faculty is the teacher training faculty, so the Faculty of Humanities and Education, and we have different programs, both bachelor's and master programs in that field. Well, one of our incoming students a number of years ago said that Volda, even though it's so small, is a memorable place, and coined that phrase, Volda is the place you'll never forget. So since we're working together on achieving a program together, we're hoping, of course, to be able to welcome some of you here at this place so that you can firsthand experience Volda, the place you'll never forget. A bit about myself, about my field. I'm an economic geographer, and I got my training from the same university as Elisabeth. That's the University of Economics and Business Administration in Vienna, which is actually the same size as this institution here, I think. UPSA is large, okay. And I have a doctorate in economic geography. And I am working as a professor at the Department of Planning and Administration, and I'm also, besides working in Norway, still working in the city that I come from, in Vienna, Austria, at the same institution that Elisabeth is working at, and that is the University of Applied Sciences, BFI Vienna. So every spring semester, I teach a course or part of a course there. When it comes to the courses I teach, I have in Volda one large course about the European Union, and both about the basics of the European Union, and then we especially focus on regional development issues. So if one looks at the European Union, a huge organization with lots of different countries, large, small, differently developed in economic terms. So we're looking both at theories and also at the practical side of what the European Union is doing to even out the development differences between the member countries of the European Union. I also have a course about internships and placements. Both my courses are all in English, so I always have international students also attending. Where in the internship course, we place students in workplaces in our region, and that also goes for international students. And then finally, at the University College in Vienna, I have a course about location choice of Austrian companies or European companies, where we have special focus in that course on foreign direct investments in Central and Eastern European countries, as well as Asian countries, with special focus on India and China. And when it comes to research interests, they lie within, on the one hand, regional development, sustainable development, various aspects of sustainable development. That's also the framework for our book. Sustainable development with special focus on tourism. And we have together had quite a number of projects within the field of location choice of companies, Austrian or European companies doing business, carrying out foreign direct investments, especially in Asian countries. So our focus has been especially on China, on India, Vietnam, Cambodia, and so on.
We are located in the mid of Vienna. And we are structured slightly different. So for us, it's not departments, but for us, it's study programs. So we are structured according our study programs. And I just want to give you a brief overview of what we are doing. So these two buildings here, you see that's the building of our university. We have a rather small building. It's not a campus. It is right in the middle of the city, next to also to the amusement park on the one hand, and also next to the, not far from the center of the United Nations in Vienna. So what we are doing is we have 8 bachelor programs and 6 master programs, and we are structured according to these programs. So in our bachelor programs, we have 2 fully taught programs in English, which is on the one hand European Economy and Business Management, which is focusing on business administration, entrepreneurial aspects. And the other one is Banking and Finance, which just started in the winter term 2020-2021 as a fully English-speaking program. Additionally to that, we also have a German-speaking program, but also for our students an international one. And for our master programs, we only have 6 master programs. So you see it's all concentrated in those really strongly business administrative focused programs. So there we also have 3 programs fully taught in English. One is International Banking and Finance, Asset and Risk Management, and HR in Europe. So especially the one International Banking and Finance and Asset and Risk Management are the ones which are attracting lots of international students, and we have lots of international collaborations in. So far there is, but no collaboration here with your university. Yeah. So the program I'm working in, I'm the Director of Studies of the program European Economy and Business Management, which is then taught in a German and English-speaking cohort as a bachelor, and as a master program, it is only in German taught. And it's both career parallel and also full-time, so daytime, we have both. So we are focusing on the mixture of strategic and international management, but also political science, economics, and law, and also try to give another elective language for our students and have a strong international focus with short-term field trips or even longer exchanges. I am an economist, as Natalie said. I'm also with a background from the University of Economics and Business Administration in Vienna. And I work on the one hand as a professor for economics at my university, and on the other hand I'm the director of studies for these study programs. So my research fields are similar, interconnected to Natalie in the terms of regional development and sustainable development. But on the other hand, I'm also into monetary and policy, monetary theory and policy, and European integration.
We decided to start a project or a book project looking into sustainable development in Ghana. And yeah, as already mentioned before, there's also an application process going on, and I think very soon coming to a conclusion, because the deadline is, I think, this week. We're applying for an Erasmus Plus project that would open up for, if we get the funding, that would open up for exchange on teacher basis, maybe also on a student basis. We really hope that we get funding for the project, and that we will be able to welcome you at Volta University College. The aim of our book is we were looking, of course, into existing literature and saw that there is really would be very useful to have an up-to-date book that gives some comprehensive insight into important development aspects, sustainable development aspects in Ghana. Even though the contributions that are planned so far are many on the side of economics, we're also very interested in other aspects of sustainable development. So also the social and the environmental aspects we're also to be able to shed more light on. So interdisciplinary is really sort of like a guideline that we want to follow in our book. We have one or two publishers in mind, but we are still waiting with contacting the publishers until we have abstracts of all the contributors in place to really be able to give the publishers a good insight into what they are going to, into the full scope of the book project.
So when we talk about sustainability and sustainable development, for us, as Natalie mentioned already, the interdisciplinary approach is very important. So what we are heading for is to have insights which are also in themselves. That means in one chapter contribution, looking from various angles onto one topic. Because I think that this way, interdisciplinarity is approached at the best way. So also when it comes to sustainable development, for us it's economic development, social development, and environmental aspects. They have to be addressed not simultaneously all that at the same time, because that usually cannot be done within one chapter. So it might be that the focus is primarily economics plus social development aspects, or environmental and social, because I think all three is hard to manage. Nevertheless, if this is possible for one or the other point of view, of course this is highly appreciated.
Wonderful presentation. For what I knew about book outcome. Normally, what happens is that you come up with a structure, like you are suggesting right now, to include certain key chapters. You come up with a comprehensive structure. Maybe I want to have, let's say, 20 chapters in the book, or you want to have, let's say, 15 chapters in the book, or you want to do volume 1, volume 2. I know that Macmillan will normally, if it is a big volume, they will divide it into two, giving you volume 1, volume 2. Recently, we just authored one book that has volume 1, volume 2. And sometimes, if it is, let's say, Rootlet, they have one issue and all of that. So if you could have come out with the number of chapters you want in each of, you want in the book, that could be of help to all of us. And are you also looking at a desk review, or you are looking at in-depth analysis? Is it content analysis, or you are looking at interviews or an interface of all of that? So maybe the approach to our writing, because we coming from finance or
so in those 200 words of your how to proceed, but not it's not a very long abstract. So we are perfectly sure that you can also only give a hint of how you're going to proceed, and not immediately show us each of the sub chapters of your chapter or sub headlines. But from the methodological part, it's going to be a focus from social science, and therefore it's going to be more on it's not going to be quantitative to those of you for banking and finance, for example. So we are not looking at any econometric analysis, because what the major focus is going to be is that it's also going to be shared among students later on. So it should be readable, and definitely it should be self-explanatory in itself. If you have work on like statistics, a kind of comprehensive statistical work but not a kind of econometric analysis, that's perfectly fine because we need data to undermine the arguments. It might also be that is a research based on interviews. That's also perfectly fine when it deals with a specific topic and specific sector, for example. So all these normally quantitative analysis of social sciences reviews, book literature, together with some kind of research on the specific area, various interviews, statistical data, and so on. And for us, it is always interesting also afterwards to use it in teaching for one or the other chapter. Of course, it's not supposed to be a book that is primarily done for teaching, but as Natalie has shown, we are doing also strategic management questions, for example, and she's teaching that. So usually we use also then of some kind of strategic management questions from India, China, and then we can add some other very good aspects from Ghana maybe to give those to students and have a better background. And the second part is we can't do two parts. So we can't enlarge it to volume 1, 2, 3, and so on. Although we would like to, we have to start slowly. Maybe there is a second volume coming later on, depending also on how we proceed. So that is usually then the feedback of also the publisher after the first volume comes out. That's also a little bit a matter of the sales that the publisher receives. And as we discussed also before, how will we proceed when there are more very valuable topics coming up that we try to integrate or can integrate? Two things are possible. On the one hand is that we figure out that some aspects and some abstracts deal with similar topics and could be joined easily so that chapters are written together. So you do not have necessarily to search beforehand, but you see then afterwards who has submitted and really wants to contribute, and we try to join you somehow if there are two contributors working on similar topics. And then, of course, if there is like one more, we can try to say in the end it's shorter than 5,000 words, but we are just asking for 4,500 to have a little more room for space for one additional one. But we can only come up with this after we have received the abstracts, because then we can start our process with the publishing house and say, well, this would be the offering, and usually they come back and say, well, our idea of the book is so and so many pages in total, please make sure that this is not exceeded. So then we can decide, maybe make
proposed topics, right? Yeah, professors or faculty members from different parts of the world, right, who are contributing. Okay. So if we have a colleague here who is interested in, let's say, youth in Ghana and their commitment to environmental, a professor maybe in Norway is doing that. It's an example, right? And this professor may need, it's empirical, so this professor may need primary data from Ghana. Would there be a possibility where, is it possible for a colleague member to say, I think if it is possible, I would want to collaborate with this person. I do that, I can help with the data collection because the person is not here and want first-hand information. Is that possible?
I would say that is possible. So, of course, those are now based on abstracts handed in by colleagues. So, of course, we would have to ask them. We can't sort of impose on them. But we'll definitely put you in contact. And I think this should absolutely be.
From your earlier statement, if I heard you right, you mentioned that you are looking at more of qualitative study, right?
Qualitative.
Okay, so you don't want more of the econometric analysis?
Yes, not necessarily econometrics, but like the comparative statistics, for example.
Okay, yes. So
quantitative.
Okay, so I'm looking at China as an investor in Africa, and primarily we will need some of these statistics to be able to give some of the issues that are really happening. For example, if you want to look at maybe how China's FDI impacts on the growth of maybe Africa in maybe specific specifically on Ghana, or if you are looking at maybe the environmental consequences of those key economic indicators, you would need some of these statistics.
Oh, yes, definitely. Oh, when I say statistics, I mean comparative statistical analysis, but not, when I talk about econometrics, I think about a model where it comes out and says, the model increases by 2. And we don't know what 2 means. For me, it would be, for the book, we have in mind that we have something and say, well, there is this influx of foreign direct investment. We see how foreign direct investment on the quantitative data changes, and we have the impact on some social issues, or we see how data on environmental friendly products produced increase, decrease, and so on. So then we can deal with that.
So if I get it right, whatever you use there, you have to ensure that it's in simple language that is understandable.
It's understandable, yeah, because usually it's not only for students, but usually when you have, what we come across now in so many disciplines is that papers are written and nobody can understand what the meaning is.
We are not looking at too vigorous. Statistical.
Yeah, you have only statistical. In the end, you have
everybody will be able to do it.
Yeah, right. You run it. You feed a model with data, and then there is an outcome, which is undiscussed. And this is what is not the aim of this paper, of this book. So what I wrote down what the ideas were sustainability of new ideas, sustainability of debt in Ghana, financing companies with environmental friendly products overall, corruption and sustainable development, the oil sector, gender and communication and sustainability, loss of roles and due to development, and second-hand clothing.
So the abstract we are saying end of March. Thank you. Oh, thank you to UPSA.